Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry. Hey docs, welcome to another episode. This one is a group interview. Got two doctors. They are husband and wife. They had an interesting last 6 months, which we're going to dive into. This is Dr. Brianna Williams and Dr. Jason Williams, and we're going to talk about how we started coaching together. A year and a half, 2 years ago. They own their own practice in North Carolina, and then about 6 months ago, we had quite a change that we needed to work through, and we did. And so we dive into that whole process in this episode and how they have gone from practice owners into a different scenario, which I don't want to spoil it, so I'll wait till we get into the actual interview. But there's some few nuggets from this, and I wanted to highlight that it's just, sometimes you have opportunities that seem very challenging, right? Sometimes they're opportunities, sometimes they're not opportunities. Sometimes it's just a struggle, right? Like obviously we went through the pandemic, or, last week's episode, I talked about a potential recession. We definitely got inflation already. But then sometimes there's just really good opportunities that seem very hard to obtain and get there. But this episode, I'm hoping that you get the understanding that, maybe this scenario doesn't apply to you, but what they went through and how they did it strategically and really put their head down to accomplish it does apply to you. And it will at some point in your career, maybe not tomorrow, but at some point you're going to have to make some transformational decisions to grow or to change locations, to change opportunities, overcome difficult situations. And I just want you to realize you can do it. You need to have the vision to do it and strategically implement the steps to make it happen. And that's why I wanted to have them on this show, was to see what you can actually get done in 6 months. And it's crazy, the process that they had to do to get it done. And ultimately, it worked out, which was just so exciting to where they're at now. And so they're both very, very great doctors, great people, work hard, really prepared themselves well. And so the opportunity that came about was right for them to really be able, in a position to be able to make change and do that. And so in this episode, we dive into that, and we talk about a lot of different things that went into it. So I know you'll get a few great nuggets out of this episode. Before we get to the episode, I want to tell you about my friend and colleague, Dr. Holly Tucker of ChiroNumbers.com. Have you been in practice a few years now and you're wondering when your business will start to reward you financially? Are you so overwhelmed with the day-to-day business management that it is hard to see your success? Or are you trying to expand your team and worried about the impact to the bottom line? Dr. Holly is a certified profit-first professional and a chiropractor herself, who has managed multiple practices over the past 10 years and consults specifically on implementing the cash flow system of Profit First for chiropractors. Simplify the way you look at stats, metrics, and your own compensation through this methodology by working with someone with unique experience in your business model. Visit bit.ly/chironumbers to get your guide and video training. Download the first 2 chapters of Profit First and subscribe to her weekly 5-minute Friday series on profitability. Start to feel less overwhelmed, avoid burnout, and clean up your finances so you can focus on patient care. Again, that's bit.ly/chironumbers for access to Dr. Holly's resources. I hope you enjoy this week's podcast. All right, welcome to the show. I have a husband-wife couple here, and we're going to dive into a fun little stretch of trying to expedite a dual career change and all the things that go into that. And so I have Jason and Brianna Williams on this call. Both are chiropractors. They were partners in a practice and now are doing something different. We're going to dive into that. But before we do, Jason, let's start with telling us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go to Bree.
Yeah, sure. It's good to talk to you again, Kevin. Jason Williams. I graduated from Northwestern in 2014 and have been practicing with my wife, originally in North Carolina and now here in Virginia. We have one daughter, and just really interested in rehab and movement evaluation as far as, my practice style.
Perfect. Bree?
Hi, thanks for having us today. I'm super excited to be here. Yes, like Jason said, we've practiced together since the beginning. Actually, we graduated from Northwestern in 2014, and we immediately opened up our own practice together. So we moved to North Carolina, and now we're in Virginia.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to work together from a coaching perspective. And I remember the one question I asked is like, how'd you end up in North Carolina? How did you end up there?
Truth be told, we just wanted warmer weather. We grew up in Wisconsin, and we just wanted somewhere nicer than Wisconsin.
Perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. So all those that are in school and graduating and trying to pick places, warm weather is always a good option. Can't go wrong. So, all right. So I wanted to bring you on because it was fascinating. I'll give the audience a little bit of a background. You had a practice together in North Carolina, and everything was going good. You brought me on to help to grow that, and we were doing that, and you both put a lot of effort into the practice, into the community, got involved heavily and doing all the right things. And then there was this, I remember a call we had, and you had to kind of divulge an opportunity that you had come across, that you had interviewed for, Bree. And then we had to really switch gears, and we'll talk about that. And so, yeah, we were trying to grow the practice, everything like that. And Jason, I know you had done a lot with marketing and video. Tell us a little bit about the growth that you had in your practice since you had started it, and what it looked like to get to where you did in your practice.
Yeah, so we kind of started just pretty bare bones, moving to a new community, not having any family or friends there, just kind of, you don't know what you don't know, and starting brand new. And one of the things that I really invested on early on was just content marketing. So what I did is I created a YouTube channel. I did a lot of social media content and mostly blogging. Yeah. To be honest with you, I was probably writing a blog a week just on different topics, kind of crossing my fingers, hoping that it would get picked up on the web and get some circulation, reach some people in my local community. And by the time we got to where we were probably about 5 years into practice, it got to the point where we're really getting a lot of new patients from that. So it was a good investment. And then I also spent a lot of time at gyms. So we kind of marketed ourselves as the preferred providers of 4 different gyms in the area that were CrossFit and MMA gyms. And then got into those gyms and worked out with those guys and gals, but just getting to know them and build relationships. And that really kind of helped our practice take off, in that 5-year mark, and where we're seeing a lot of those patients that we wanted to see, the active individuals and, folks that really like to see chiropractors because of how it can help them perform and keep doing what they want to do.
Yeah. And then this kind of helps prep where we're going to go in this episode. Did you enjoy being a practice owner? Because you both did all the right things and was growing a nice practice. Did you enjoy that aspect of things?
I enjoyed the freedom and the flexibility of it. But I think the thing that we were missing with owning our own practice was the feeling of stability, which probably a lot of chiropractors in the last couple of years can identify with the pandemic. And then we had a daughter who was in the hospital for a while, and So that kind of cut our workforce in half, if you will.
Yeah.
So it was something we enjoyed, but you just kind of had that feeling in the back of your head where it's like you're always pushing forward, and there's always those obstacles, which there always will be, but we kind of craved that stability and security, I think.
Yeah, that's what's always tricky as a practice owner. There's a lot of potential flexibility. It's exciting. It's fun. Obviously, a lot of people enjoy doing it. And overall, there's a lot of benefits. But then on one hand, there's some things you have to consider, right? And so that's something that we always have to think about. But ultimately, when we were working together, things were going well, getting out of the pandemic. And then there was an opportunity that came about. And I remember chatting about getting on the phone, and then Bree, you had quite an opportunity come about. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I actually had applied to the VA health system, several of them, in fact, over the course of a couple years. And then all of a sudden, I did get an opportunity for an interview. And then a few months later, I got a job offer. And that's when we came to you and said, hey, we really have to think about switching gears, and we really want to consider this job offer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you really truly helped us through that decision.
Yeah. When was that we had that first phone call, the three of us, about that? Was that November, December of last year?
It was pretty close, yeah, because I believe I received the offer in October, and then we told you about it soon after.
Yeah. And so I remember we went through the details of the opportunity, great opportunity. And then we find ourselves in this situation where, okay, now you've got a great offer, a great opportunity. This is in Virginia. I think it's Northern Virginia. Is that correct?
Pretty close to Northern. We're actually about an hour south of DC. So we're starting to get into that Northern Virginia range.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, okay, now that poses us a problem, right? We've got a great opportunity in Virginia. We have a husband and daughter in a practice that you own in North Carolina. So tell us about some of those thought processes that were going on.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, knee-jerk reaction is this can't happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for all the reasons you said, I mean, we had all these seemingly insurmountable obstacles in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do with our practice? What do we do with our home? Do we want to uproot our lives? What does this change look? I mean, change is never easy.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's good, exciting change, it's still scary.
Yep.
And, really with your help and coaching, we were able to kind of go through one by one, that these things are overcomable. Mm-hmm. We can do it. And end result is we did do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's actually do that. Let's fast forward to where we're at now. And so, Jason, what are you doing? And then we'll kind of reverse engineer how we got there.
Yeah, so I'm working in outpatient ambulatory group called Centera Medical Group, and they're associated with Centera Hospital. Centera has a number of hospitals in Virginia, and there's one here in Woodbridge, close to my office. And so when Centera bought that hospital, they really didn't have any outpatient like physical therapy, chiropractic type of offices. And so what they've begun to do is add those services in new offices that are close or can join with their primary care offices. So I'm in Dumfries, Virginia, and in a therapy center here, which will be physical therapy and, me. And then right next door, I have a primary care physician and a nurse practitioner that are super busy.
Yeah. And so, and I've had one of your colleagues from Centera on our show last year and outlined a lot of the details of Centera and a great opportunity and great compensation package, all that stuff. It's just a wonderful opportunity for chiropractors I think it's only Virginia right now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So how did you find that opportunity?
So it almost felt like a diamond in the rough when we were seriously considering, retaking this VA job. I kind of felt like, well, what the heck am I going to do up there? We're going to sell this practice, and I'm going to have to find, another position. And I wasn't really interested in kind of being an associate after I've had a practice that was doing pretty well myself. And so I started looking, and there really wasn't a lot of opportunities, to be honest with you. But I did come across this opportunity here in Dumfries, and I saw that it was for Centera. And I remember thinking, man, I've heard that name before. I swear I listened to another chiro that was kind of in an integrative setting like this. And Bree reminded me, there was on Kevin's podcast. So I kind of jumped back, listened to it. And then I just kind of hustled. I got on Facebook, I got on the internet. I tried to find any chiropractors I could that were working for Centera, and just reached out to a couple of them. And they happened to be the couple that were up here in Northern Virginia. And they were generous to just reach out to me. I probably spent an hour talking to each of them, asking them, how do you like it? What's the environment like? And they were really positive about their experiences here. And I was lucky enough to get an interview, and I came up and interviewed here once and a couple of times on the phone, and was offered the position. So it almost felt like it was too good to be true. But at the same time, with it working out, you just kind of felt like all the right things were happening, and it was almost like a meant to be sort of situation.
Yeah, and that's what it kind of seemed like. And I do remember when we first started talking about it and all of the different obstacles. I remember saying that, if you want this bad enough as a couple, and that was one of the things I had you to do, was really communicate on it and say, like, do we really want to do this? Is this something that we're willing to overcome these obstacles to get to? Because if you both wanted it and you ended up wanting it, I said there's going to be a lot of very frustrating aspects. I was like, you got to take it in stride. It's just not going to be easy, right? Like we kind of went into that, and it's not going to be easy. But if you want it bad enough, it's going to happen. Obviously it did. What were some of the concerns you had with taking the opportunity? And let's actually just fast forward a little bit, and let's go to the point where you felt good about Jason's opportunity at Centera. So that takes that out of the equation, where, okay, is he going to be able to get a job up there? Let's say we get to the point where that's going to happen. What were some of the other concerns that you had with this whole thing?
Yeah, I would say the number one concern was our practice, right? Because as I mentioned the house before, but luckily we were in a hot housing market, so we weren't concerned about that. But either one or two things were going to happen with our practice. We could either sell it, which would be ideal, or we would have to close it, which was less than ideal. So that was truly the biggest concern, is how are we going to navigate either the sale or the closure of the practice?
All right, docs, here is a new opportunity for you from Darcy Sullivan of Propel. She is our SEO specialist in helping out many chiropractors with their search engine optimization and making sure Google is finding you and getting you new patients. It's amazing how many new patients chiropractors can get and are getting when they do the SEO right, and a few other things. And Darcy is offering a free SEO workshop just for chiropractors, and you can sign up for that at bit.ly/propelmcm. That is bit.ly/propelmcm, Modern Chiropractic Marketing, right? And so check out that link, and we're going to have you go over 5 SEO secrets to owning the first page of Google without buying ads. And Darcy's going to give that free workshop, 1 hour, to really help grow your practice and start churning new patients from the ever mighty Google, which is still king in the online marketing. So check that out at bit.ly/propelmcm for the 1 hour free workshop. Hey doc, are you moving office spaces, or you're a startup with your own new space, or you're like me where you need renovations because it's starting to look a little worn after about 10 years like ours is? Crossfield's Chiropractic Office Design is here to elevate you wherever you're at, and they're going to help maximize your space and flow. They're going to really help attract and retain patients, and this is going to have a great ROI on your investment when you increase that patient experience. So check out Chiropractic Office Designs by Crossfields, and we have a special link for Modern Chiropractic marketing listeners, and that is www.chiropracticofficedesign.com/Kevin-Christie. And with that, you're going to have discounts. We're going to have direct links to a mega bundle of free resources, and you can check them out, and you can get 15 of our most popular floor plans, 5-phase checklist for a startup office, 5-point designer checklist to evaluate your current office image. And there's 30% off on all online products when you go to www.chiropracticofficedesign.com/Kevin-Christie. And how many years did you have left on the lease for the practice?
We had 1 year left on our lease for the building we rented.
And so it's like, from a financial standpoint, you didn't want to get stuck with that. Although you could have handled it, you didn't want to. And then, but talk to me a little bit about the psychological part of having to close a practice that you built and was profitable and all those things. Like, what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's huge, right? Because to us, really it was our first baby. It's something that we built together. We moved here to open up the practice together. This was kind of our end game plan, right? Like this was going to be what we did until we retired or died.
Yep.
And so yeah, there's a huge to have to close it, I think would have been 100 times worse, because you have had to let go of that and you have almost nothing to show for it.
Yep.
So for us, it was really important to try and sell it, just so that that we could continue with good patient care and that we wouldn't have to just end it, but be in a little way that something that we built lived on.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jason, what were some of your thoughts on that same question?
Man, I remember thinking I needed to come up here and start in February.
Okay.
And that was like 3 months from
yeah, that was quick. It was a quick turnaround.
About it.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, the likelihood that we're going to be able to sell this clinic is probably pretty small. And so I was kind of looking at, man, if we have to close it, we care a lot about our patients. Like, what are they who are they going to see? Are they going to have good providers? But just to put 8 years into something and then kind of walk away from it, like, you lose a lot of value that you put into it. You're dealing with selling all the equipment, transferring your patients, paying off the lease, just probably 100 things that I was concerned about and feeling, not very confident that we were going to be able to sell the practice, mostly just because of the timeline on it.
Yeah, it was quick. And just give the audience a little bit of a breakdown of the timeline. You had the 3 months. You had a little bit longer, which we'll dive into in a minute. You had a little bit longer to figure things out. But once Jason added the Centera job, that timeline had shortened for the family as a whole because he had to get up there. And so there was a period of time where, I want to just highlight a couple things. Again, one is for the audience out there. Sometimes you're going to have these undertakings that seem insurmountable, but if you really do the right stuff and you work hard, you can get it done. And a couple things already out of the gates was, one, Jason doing his due diligence of finding an opportunity up there and really looking into it and interviewing well and getting that accomplished. And then two, the both of them really taking this head on with the prospect of having to close the practice or sell it. And you both really hit the ground running quickly on trying to find a buyer. And so whoever wants to take the lead on this, tell me about how you ended up finding the potential that ended up being the actual buyer of your practice.
Yeah, I will let Jason tell that story because he did a lot of work on it. But
Mhm.
before he says, I do want to put in a plug because one reason we were able to move so quickly on this was because we had all of our numbers
Mhm.
already lined out from going through CSA and coaching with you.
Well, I thank you for that little plug there. Yeah, having your numbers squared away and really making sure that you have everything prepared is very important. I know in the CSA dashboard, we have the whole practice analytics. That's everything that's there. And then being able to present a sellable entity in a quick turnaround, because you never know in life, right? I remember I had someone on my podcast a couple years ago, and not that long after the podcast, they really had to get something done quickly as well, and they also were prepared. And so you just never know what happens, and being prepared to sell. I always talk about that. It's like, even if you're not wanting to sell your practice for 25 years, build that thing and prepare it like it needs to be sold in 4 months, because you never know what happens. And so Jason, take it from there as far as how you ended up getting this accomplished with the sale.
Yeah. So because the timeline was so short, one of the first things I did was just to reach out to other docs that I knew
Mhm.
or were kind of in my network and just say, hey, we've got these opportunities. We're looking at selling the practice. Do you have any interest in either owning another practice or expanding, the current practice, or maybe even from going, from associate to owning this practice? And I was lucky enough
Mhm.
that the doc who eventually purchased the practice was one of those people. And so just kind of circling back to what you just said, I mean, it made it easier that our practice was debt free,
Mhm.
that it had a lot of systems on it, and that we had a marketing plan that we, kind of worked on you with for a year or two. So it was really a pretty attractive practice to buy, in my opinion. And I think, for the docs that bought it, it was just the right time for them to do it. So again, the stars just kind of aligning there.
Yeah, and so from the time frame standpoint, obviously it takes time to sell a practice. It's hard to do it in 3 months, and that was your timeline. So you ended up finding the buyers together. You ended up having to leave to Virginia, I think, right?
Hmm.
And then Bree was able to stick back and still kind of cultivate the practice and keep the patient base going. And ultimately, the transition fell more on you, Bree, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And so what was that like so now Jason's up in Virginia, and you had, how long of a period of time were you still back in North Carolina?
So I was there for another 3 months
Oh,
until we were able to close on the practice.
perfect. And how did that whole transition go with getting the practice closed, getting new doctors in there, and getting all that squared away?
To be honest, it was frustrating.
Hmm. It's always, that's like, goes back to what we said before. It's not gonna be easy, and there's gonna be a lot of
Yeah.
hurdles.
Right. So, here we go from having dual doctor clinic to
Yep.
now I'm seeing all of the patients on my own, plus trying to close on the practice,
Mhm.
plus I had our daughter home with us.
Yep.
So, now I'm kind of a solo parent. So
Mhm.
it was certainly it was difficult, but it
Mhm.
was doable. We were very lucky that the buyers of our practice were very open to communication.
Mhm.
They were excited. They wanted to make it happen. So, again, all of the stars aligned for this to happen. And the thing that slowed it down is really just the legality, like, the legal things.
Yeah.
Like, they
Mhm.
couldn't step in until we closed,
Mhm.
etc. So, but yeah, it was a long couple months,
Mhm.
but ultimately we made it.
Yeah, and every time you go through those times where it's just so hard, there's no discounting the fact that it's just hard, but it's just good to know that there's an end date to that.
Yeah.
And it's just a
Yeah.
short little season of like, because you think about it, back from November, December, when we were finally like really diving into the potential, to now we're in June, early June. And I know it was like May when it really all was kind of just finished. Let's call it 6 months. I mean, it was a hellish 6 months. There's just no way to slice it. It wasn't easy. And that was one thing that we got clear on from the beginning, is like, if you both decide you want to do this, it's going to be a really hard 6 months. But on the other side of it is going to be a really amazing opportunity. And I try to explain that to a lot of different people with different scenarios, where it's like, if you really want it, it's just like when I had Ashley and Brittany on the show a few weeks ago with their buying the office space and doing the whole thing. That was really freaking hard, but they did the same thing, made a decision to do it, went through all the steps, overcame it, had the confidence to work through it and get to the other side. And so now, ultimately, we are on that other side for you to tell us, and whoever wants to take the lead on this first, I want to hear from both of you, but actually, Jason, tell us what, as a family, because we can pick apart both things. Like, I know the Centera opportunity is phenomenal, and a lot of us know the VA situation is very, very phenomenal. Like, and just really good opportunities for long term and stability. But as a family, what became the deciding factors to say, yes, we are going to do this, and we're going to work through the challenging 6 months to make it happen?
I think one of the biggest things was when we thought about our daughter, who she had a rough 6 months and was in the hospital for a long time. Is just feeling like, we don't know, she might need care in the future, or if we want to have another child, what if we have to go through something like that again? And we felt like being at the VA and being at Centera and having the benefits and the stability and the parental leave that comes with that. I mean, that was the number one thing for me. Is it really just came down to, is the life of our daughter and any of our future kids going to be, more stable and better if we take these opportunities? And I think we both felt like it would be. And so that was the number one thing.
Yeah, that's obviously, that's a big one. And so that the opportunities you both have not only provide great compensation for chiropractors, but also really the ultimate in stability in a lot of ways. And so, Bree, what are some of your thoughts on what really moved the needle? I know that was the big one, but what else for you?
Yeah, that was a big one. And then another thing that we've talked privately about is that, when a female practitioner in any field, or not even a practitioner, a professional, has children. So even though it is 2022, that still sets a female kind of back in her career a little bit. And when I had to take my leave, I wound up taking 6 months out of practice, and it took me a while to rebuild that. So for me, my career is very important to me, and I don't want that to be a contributing factor in slowing down my career. So this opportunity really did, I think we both wanted to have some more doors open in the future, and we both saw these opportunities as doing that for us and for our family.
Yeah, definitely. And I know at the VA, you do get, and I know you've expressed the desire for future children. You do get very fair maternity and stability around that. And that is a reality as a female chiropractic practice owner, right? It's challenging. It's challenging in the typical corporate world as with a female maternity type of situation. And I've had that podcast before, which I thought was really well done by Rebecca Deo, and brought a lot of great information around that for female chiropractors that are in private practice. So they're, or associates for practices. So there's hopefully an improvement in all of that. But the VA definitely offers really good maternity leave from what I gather. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Great maternity leave. And then, of course, being federal government, they kind of set the standard, right? So also, when you come back from that, you have to come back at the same level, if not, so you can't be penalized basically for taking leave.
Yeah, there's no risk for the maternity in the federal. So that's awesome. And then I'll just say, on top of that, without getting into the details, is that you both are getting financially rewarded very well. And that's something that you took into consideration too, because you don't want to take a step back. It's like you don't want to do that. And you are in Virginia, which has a higher cost of living than North Carolina typically. So that was nice to be able to be rewarded for your hard work, both getting hard jobs to get right. I know that was something that we chatted about, was there's sometimes a little bit of guilt of like, leaving your practice, in the sense of, having any regrets with that. And I remember saying, I was like, it's so impressive that you both got the positions that you got. And it was really a testament to both the hard work and skill set that you have. A lot of people compete for these jobs. And so I look at this as a step up for you professionally. Not that owning your own practice isn't a great thing, but just given the whole circumstances, when you really put it all together, and also like the things you mentioned with family and stuff, it's just such a big move forward. And to come together on that as a couple and a partnership in a practice, to make, because you had to make that decision not only as husband and wife but also as business partners, right?
Yeah.
Was there a dichotomy there, as far as, okay, putting your business partner hat on versus putting your husband wife hat on with that, or was it pretty in line with the thought process?
I think we're lucky that our career goals are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I think we kind of got to this point where we were a little bit worried about thinking in 15 years from now, are we going to want to be at this clinic,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's rocking, or are we going to want to do something, different? Like, do we want to be in an integrative setting? Would
Mm-hmm.
we want to teach? Would we want to do more leadership? And so I think this opened the doors for that. And so, it was the compensation, which was a huge part of it. When you're a business owner, you look at your numbers and then you look at what the opportunity is. And I think for us, that part of it was pretty clear, especially when you couple in like student loan forgiveness after 10 years
Yeah,
working
that's,
for a
I
nonprofit.
I remember saying, I was like, you have to consider that part of the compensation, because I mean, think about how much money that is.
Yeah. And I can't say that we didn't waver, because I know I talked to you like in the middle of it and I said, Kevin, do you think this is the right thing to do? And you didn't miss a beat. You were like, yeah, I told you that last time. Like, this is the right thing for you guys. You guys want to do it. It makes sense financially. And so I can't say we didn't waver, but, I think looking back on it now, we're really proud of what we did, opening a practice, because that's nothing for all the listeners out there who, either open out of school or are opening a practice after being an associate. Like, the hustle is real for that. And so that's a huge stepping stone in your career and something that you should be proud of either way. So I just think that, we're really blessed that we were kind of on the same page and we had these great opportunities, and we had, a good supporting network and someone to buy the practice, and we were willing to move and we could sell our house easily. And, we do pretty good with change. I mean,
Mhm.
it was a lot of change at one time, and it's like you said, it's really hard. It was really hard for 3 or 6 months there, but kind of being on the other side and getting into these new jobs, we're having a ton of fun, and we're really liking what the future is looking like.
Yeah. And so here we are now in June, and everything has been done. What we talked about 6 months ago, all the hard steps, all those are officially done, which is great. And you're both in your roles. I know, Bree, you're pretty new to the position, but tell us so far how it's going and some of the things about what you're doing.
Yeah, so I am actually 2 weeks in. This is
Hmm.
my second week. So brand new. I haven't even seen a patient yet, but I'm excited. Everybody there is very welcoming. Just to backtrack a little on what Jason was saying about, us moving forward. We also I want to say I got this job, and I know for a fact because my supervisor told me, because I took additional training. So this has really been something that has been on our minds for several years. It's not just, recent that we started making these moves. So, I took the PSP program, and Jason was really an early adopter of, he went through the entire 200-hour acupuncture course and dry needling. And so for anybody who is kind of looking for these opportunities, you do have to go, like, chiro school is kind of like the entry level,
Yep.
You have to go above and beyond that. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
No, that was perfect. Yeah, I knew you were, I knew you were only a couple weeks into the VA, so you're not gonna be able to give us like a rundown of like, oh yeah, this, doing this, that, and the other thing, and they're getting you on board, which is great.
Yeah.
But you're also involved a little bit with the profession. Did that help out a little bit? What tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yeah. So I also am involved with Spine IQ, which is the nonprofit that is run by Christine Gert. So I came on, again, this was a volunteer position that they brought me on. And so it was my own time, wasn't paid, but I do think that the cause is worthy. And so I wanted to invest my time in that. And yeah, I absolutely do think that that also helped me with getting this job.
Yeah, you both were highly prepared for an opportunity, either, using that to grow your own practice or to take the opportunities that you did. And so, Jason, tell us a little bit about how everything's going to Centera, and how your role is a little bit different. I know we had some pre-chat, and you've had a ton of MD meetings and some of your experiences around that.
Yeah, so I'm here at Centera in a brand new office. Actually, my first couple of weeks, we were moving equipment in here and just kind of getting everything, tying up the loose ends. But this is a clinic that's going to have physical therapy and chiropractic care in one location, and we're right here with the primary care office. So that's given me an opportunity to connect with the providers at the office here and just kind of educate them on what chiropractors do. Because, with chiropractic care and physical therapy, the medical doctors usually pretty familiar with what PTs do, and have no problem referring. But I think a little education goes a long way. The great thing with Centera is they have a physician liaison. So she sets up meetings for me. So they're not like cold call, she kind of plans them out, and she drives me around to physician offices. I get to meet the providers there. I have, referral pads, just educational material, and all sorts of different providers. I mean, primary care, pain specialists, ortho, neuro, urgent care.
Yep.
And so I think that's going to be a huge part of this practice is medical referrals from providers in Centera's network. And but the great thing here is they give me a lot of freedom to kind of run the office and do what I want clinically with my patients. So, if I was a rehab guy like I am, I can spend a little bit of time doing that with my patients. And if I had another interest, it would work too, So Centera is really excited to be growing these clinics, and they have a number of opportunities that are available in different locations. I do think that they're planning on continuing to grow these offices.
Yeah, they give a great framework and a little bit of artistic freedom for you. So that's wonderful. So good. We kind of put a little bit of a bow on where you two are at now and what you're doing. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing how it progresses. Is there anything, Bree, that you want to tell our audience about a journey? Maybe it's not like this one, but I think somewhere along our path in this profession, there's going to be a challenging journey. Any insights to our listeners when those things come about and how to overcome them?
Yeah, I think really just be open to opportunity, because, if we waited until the opportunity was exactly where we wanted, we could have been waiting forever, So, and we touched on this a lot, but opportunity isn't always easy, and that's okay. But to be prepared for it, and yeah, just be open to it. Just think about it. Think about what you want your career, your future to look like, and manifest it.
Yeah. And you both did that, and I commend you. And I really thank you for your time today. I think this is a great lesson in growth and overcoming challenges, doing it in a quick manner, and just taking it on and knowing that on the other side of it is going to be a great opportunity. So I thank you for your time today.
Yeah, it's great talking to you, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We really appreciated you having us on today.
My pleasure. That is it for this week's episode. But before you leave, check us out at www.modernchiropracticmarketing.com for all kinds of free resources such as blogs and the podcast episodes. We've got online courses. You can check out the Chiropractic Success Academy there, which is an amazing online coaching system for you at a very affordable monthly rate. There's a free online course on the modernchiropracticmarketing.com website, so check that out. If you're interested in some one-on-one coaching, we can do that as well. We have all kinds of resources for you there, and we would also truly appreciate if you could rate and review this podcast if you're getting valuable information out of it. I can't thank you enough, and we'll see you next week.